Toy Chat is not a children's channel. This video is intended for adult gift givers and collectors. Hey guys, welcome to Toy Chat. This is Max.
And Sang.
And welcome to another episode of Collector's Corner, our podcast where we discuss hot topics in the doll and toy industry centered on some of our favorite brands. So, in our last podcast, I had mentioned that for some time now, I had been meaning for us to have a conversation about the state of kind of the doll industry, specifically the Playline doll space. I kind of had a concept for a video titled something like, why 2024 might be a weird year for doll collectors. That was derailed a little bit because leaks came out and things like that we had to cover. That may have swayed some certain thoughts or opinions as to the state of things, but with where things are at, I definitely feel like we still need to have this conversation. We're going to be talking about just what it's like to be a Playline doll collector presently, and just kind of the fact that it feels like there's dwindling excitement and popularity over current doll lines.
Yeah, I mean, we had a good couple good years.
Yes. And obviously, there was so much excitement and so much fanfare over Rainbow High and like Monster High Gen 3 when it first came back and everything. And it feels like now we're really slowing down from all that. And now it's kind of a feeling of like, what happened? What's the next big thing, so on and so forth. So again, this conversation is going to be specific to Playline dolls, to retail shelf dolls, and of course, we're going to be speaking from the perspective of, older adult collectors. Obviously, there's always going to be things for young kids in the toy aisle. Also, just kind of a general disclaimer, the stuff we're addressing here is, of course, it's our personal opinions. Some of the things we're going to be bringing up are speculative, just for pure context. But as always, we're very curious where the rest of you are at, how the rest of the community is feeling about just kind of the general state of things right now. There's a lot of lines currently experiencing things like reboots, budget cuts, fewer releases. It just feels a little barren in terms of, really exciting, hotly talked about new releases. So we're going to be talking about some of our own observations in addition to what others have been saying. I have had conversations with multiple other folks in the community about this subject, so I know we're not alone in these opinions. And we are going to be covering the state of some specific brands, some a little more briefly, some in more detail. We're going to be addressing Rainbow High, Monster High, LOL Surprise, and Barbie. If there's time, we might talk about one or two other things like Disney Illy Forever. We won't really be discussing Bratz in this video. We already had a huge conversation on, the 2024 Bratz comeback. You guys can check out that podcast if you want to hear our thoughts on that. And to be really honest, that even in itself is contributing to this whole situation because nothing has come out since the Always Bratz, and even now in present time, the Always Bratz are challenging to obtain. They're not all over shelves. They're not, it's just, again, odd time to be a doll collector, and we're gonna run through the different brands and subjects and discuss why we feel that way. So we'll start with, what was once the bread and butter of our channel, Rainbow High. Rainbow High, of course, was responsible for exponential growth on our YouTube channel. And as you all may have noticed, we haven't released a Rainbow High video in months. And fun fact, I have not purchased a single Rainbow High product since the soft reboot dolls started coming out. I don't know whether or not that's gonna change. We'll see. We're kind of gonna give any updates, kind of revisit the subject, where things are at now that we've kind of have experienced the soft reboot. Again, we have previously had a whole conversation dedicated to the 2024 Rainbow High quote unquote soft reboot, which is what we'll be referring to it as, specifically, like the Rainbow World rebranding. But now we've actually seen all this stuff. We've seen all of the soft reboot dolls in person, the Myscine, the swim budget dolls, the fashion packs.
The new simpler, Playhouse?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have to say, off the bat, nothing has really changed for me. I stand by everything I said in the previous podcast. Definitely check that out if you want the detailed thoughts on that.
And it also feels like they're not really moving product either. They're kind of just sitting on the shelves. I mean, I'm sure if they just keep restocking, but from our locations, they haven't really moved at all.
Yes.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like with the Rainbow High in the past, they had, poster boards in the back and different end caps for Rainbow High. They really haven't done anything for this new rebrand.
No, yeah, it is kind of like an under the radar kind of rebrand. Yeah. Again, I'm a little unclear where MGA's biggest focus is right now, because again, we initially assumed for 2024 it's going to be Bratz, and obviously the Bratz social media is always poppin', but in terms of actual dolls and products, there have been the Bratz babies and stuff like that, but in terms of more of the new Bratz Playline dolls, there was that one wave of releases, and that's kind of been it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just, honestly, to me, it feels like the brand that MGA is pushing most right now is Miniverse.
Yeah.
which is understandable. Miniverse is great, and we love Miniverse, and it's clearly very popular. And once again, it seems like Miniverse is a product that has an enormous adult collector crossover popularity.
Yeah.
So
it has a huge presence on social media too, like TikTok, and they have that kind of challenge. I don't know if all the focus is on that kind of Playline rather than dolls and their other brands, but it seems like like Rainbow High, LOL Surprise are taking the back burner right now.
Yeah, which is really interesting. We've heard radio silence on Storywood Fairy Tales or whatever. Yeah. Nothing. Storywood Fairy Tales are I don't know what's going on with that. You know what? Maybe we're recording this the day after we record this, something will pop up. I don't know, but I'm kind of surprised that was such a huge thing when it leaked, and now it's just nothing. We've heard no update on that.
And it's kind of interesting because they for sure have gotten rid of Shadow High. All the Shadow High stuff are clearance off now.
Yeah.
So is that whole thing been abandoned?
Yeah. On that note, one of the main, updates we kind of have on Rainbow High is the animated series has officially returned for season 5. So we have seen the formal introduction of Rainbow World, and Rainbow World is definitely a rebrand. It's really interesting in the intro of some of these new episodes, the Rainbow High logo changes to Rainbow World in the episode. So full disclosure, I've only watched the first 2 episodes of season 5. There's been a few since then. I have heard they introduced some new character in one of the more recent episodes, but what I've gathered so far is the animation is still nice. It is still a cute show. It's definitely directed at younger kids than before. It is kind of interesting, thus far, we've been using the term soft reboot. This animated series new season is making it feel a lot more of a firm reboot. Honestly, this entry into Rainbow World, nothing else that happened previously in the plot matters at all. This is a completely self-contained story. They just step into this portal, and it's really only the core 7, I guess, at this point, because including Amaya and Poppy is still in the show. And she has kind of a cute new outfit. Actually, no, sorry, 8, not 7, 8, because Bella and Amaya are come along with them. We'll get to the leaks in a second, but of the Make Slime kind of, core dolls, there's no Bella and there's no Poppy. Their outfits in the animated series they're pretty cute. I personally I'm not as invested in this as I was previously, because of course, as we've discussed, the Make Slime dolls are much more budget. They have reduced articulation. A lot of the outfits feel very samey from previous releases. So, and that honestly, I'd apply that to even Poppy and Bella's new looks as well. This new look on Poppy does seem really cute. I like her little butterfly dress, and she has like braids and stuff like that. It would be kind of cute to have a Poppy doll like that. I don't know what's going on with that. But basically, yeah, in this new plot, honestly, Rainbow World is kind of vaguely defined. It's just this random little fantasy place where Miss Morton, one of the educators at Rainbow High, has brought the girls here to complete tasks to basically help the people of Rainbow World who have lost confidence.
I'm sorry, aren't they supposed to be in school?
You know what? They're just doing anything. At this point, they're just like, honestly, this, and again, because it almost feels like it completely disregards the previous plot, like nothing of what I've seen so far has, like, they don't mention anything from previous seasons. This is very, like, cute, simple, you know, believe in yourself, try your best kind of themes. Honestly, it's perfectly fine for young kids. I could totally imagine, I'm sure young kids are going to eat this up.
It's kind of funny because usually TV shows or just franchises tend to grow with the viewers. This one seems to be regressing in terms of like viewer ages.
Yeah, in which case they maybe should have just done a full hard reboot with like new characters and just everything. I don't know. It's, you know, I'm kind of curious what everyone else thinks. Again, the episodes are cute. It's much kiddier than what it was before. Something kind of interesting though is I know a lot of some of the original themes and characters from the original Rainbow High animation was a little controversial among parents and stuff like that, because they were saying, oh, like, some of the characters are really mean-spirited and, like, this isn't sending good messages and it's superficial and da-da. I do feel like the original show was almost trying to be framed in some aspects kind of like a millennial-oriented reality show at parts, and then there was like more universally relatable subjects like relationship drama and like, you know, meeting new people and fitting in and da-da-da. This is straight up for young kids. It's cute and pretty and colorful. So just lastly, kind of a final note for Rainbow High. We have seen the leaks of Winter Wonderland and Sparkle and Shine / Moonbow. Again, we're not going to be talking about those at length at this time. The only images available at this time of recording are super low quality leaks. We have some thoughts so far, but we're not going to have a big conversation at this time. The clothes that the Winter Wonderland dolls are wearing, I think they look a lot nicer in terms of like fashion design, but we have a lot of the same concerns as the rest of the reboot.
Yeah.
The images are really low quality. We don't know for sure if they still have the reduced articulation, and it looks like they do have like the little openings for like slime and
you're
stuff.
supposed to stuff slime into their jackets and dresses. So yeah, and like, I mean, that's kind of, I guess, a fun one-time project, but wouldn't the slime like dry out and ruin the clothing?
I'm telling y'all right now,
it's just gonna look really messy.
Yeah, if we review those, and I will say I'm tempted to check these out in person. Slime is not going in there for the review. It's too messy. And again, as we discussed previously, it's really interesting. They're like redoing the rainbow surprise gimmick. But anyway, more on that to come. We'll see when the stuff actually comes out. But yeah, let us know where the rest of you are at with Rainbow High at this point. So we're gonna move on to Monster High, and I feel like Monster High Gen 3 is definitely one of the brands that could argue some counterpoints of like feeling like the Playline doll world is slowing down, because I'm sure you could easily say, well, some people I'm sure in certain spaces would say, oh, it kind of feels like, you know, Gen 3 Monster High is popping off and like it's very popular. But there have been so many times recently where I'm like, are we just living in an adult collector echo chamber and like we're not really aware of what's really going on here? Because we've kind of mentioned previously, we're actually gonna have a discussion about it now. From our observation, G3 Monster High dolls that come to our Target stores, and not just one or two, like all of them, every Target store we go to, they're not moving. Like they're not selling.
I mean, maybe like the whole Rainbow High shelf restock situation, maybe they've been restocking. But I think the only doll I've seen move like recently is Venus. I think everyone else is trying to sit there, or they get clearance off, because I know I got Abby for a really cheap price. She was like under $10, and they aren't moving at all. Even when they're on sale, they kind of aren't really moving.
Yeah, I can't tell you all how many times we go to Target and there is just full untouched stock, like to the edge of the shelf, like Monster High Gen 3 dolls at Target. So for one, obviously the things that are new, like Signature Venus when she first came out and stuff like that, those are gonna be hot sellers. Those are gonna go off the shelf. But a big recurring issue that we've really been observing with Monster High Gen 3 is the very bizarre distribution model of the new dolls. And we've talked about this in previous videos. It's been an issue for like really since Gen 3 has come out. Basically, there's kind of this cycle of like there's a bunch of leaks are just dumped on the community and everyone gets really excited and it's like, oh, there's these cool things coming and like this looks nice and that looks cool, and then you wait like half a year to actually, depending on where you're located, to actually get your hands on these dolls, because the way they're distributed is so odd. Like they slowly trickle into like third-party retailers like Paul Mart or whatever in Southern California is where a lot of people and influencers get theirs early. And then after that, they roll out to Walmarts. Mm-hmm. We have shared our grievances with shopping at Walmart many, many, many times. Walmart is a horrible place to shop at. They don't have reliable item number systems. You can't really find anything. And when things sell out, they're gone until ? So we don't ever find new things, hardly ever at our Walmarts. And by the time they come to Target, literally months after people first start reporting, seeing them here and there at Walmarts or at third-party retailers or certain regions or whatever. Yeah. Some of them, they almost kind of feel like old news. Yeah. Especially us.
I mean, even as a collector, not like a YouTuber who reviews these, I think when the initial images leak or are introduced, and then you have to wait a long time for the actual product to arrive at your local store, I think some of the momentum and hype dies down, and you're onto the new thing. You're
like over it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're like focusing on. There's been so many times now where by the time like Sang and I are able to get our hands on like a Monster High Gen 3 doll we've been wanting, there's leaks already for like the next thing. One, like literally I remember like Skulltimate Secrets Wave 2 or something we finally were like starting to access those. Yeah. The whole community was talking about like Series 3 or something like that. Ones, and they're like, oh, the next ones are coming out, and we're like, and especially us also, we're kind of speaking from the perspective of content creators, so it's like on YouTube. So it's like, are we gonna cover this stuff that we feel like we're getting really late, and then everyone's kind of already on to the next thing, even though the next thing is not going to be obtainable for a lot of people for a while. So it's really strange. I don't know why there's not more even distribution. Also, specifically, gotta give a shout out, honestly, to international collectors, and I apologize if we don't mention y'all enough, because I know there's many times we speak from our perspective as like US collectors, and there's international people in the comments who are saying like you guys are lucky that you can access them at all, and that like you can access them at affordable prices and stuff like that. International collectors in particular, I feel like, are having a really rough time with Monster High across the board. I know there's also been a lot of really upset international collectors over the Monster High collector releases, because some of the collector releases ended up like US exclusives, and Monster High wasn't totally transparent about that being the case. Again, this conversation we're focusing on Playline. We're not really talking about the collector dolls. So it's just been hard across the board. We're curious what everyone else's experience has been like. Like, have you had an easy time accessing new Monster High dolls? Have you had a challenging time? One thing I will say, the adult collectors, you can tell when they hone in and kind of want something, because when like a brand new, and it's usually like Sang said, kind of like this, it's the signature line pretty much, like the new characters, like, oh, like, you know, Caddy's back and Venus is back and like this character's back. Those ones, especially if they drop first online, like on Amazon or something, those listings immediately sell out. They sell out right away online, because it's usually, I think, a lot of the adult collectors who kind of jump on that. And then by the time, again, they finally make their way to stores, and then there's almost like an excess stock. And yeah, like we said, stuff just kind of sits there. A line in particular that I'm really noticing, like, oof, there's like excessive overstock, is the Scaradise Island line. I recently saw, I swear, like 20 Heaths just like sitting on the shelf, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like, and not even just Heath, there were a whole bunch of like Frankies and like It was so...
And I think that's another issue, is not just us collectors and people who want these dolls. It's like these retailers who receive them late. Because usually, like, if Walmart gets it first or Amazon gets first, that means Target's gonna get the last, and then they're gonna sit on with, they're gonna be stuck with these products that people who wanted them already have them, and then they don't move on their shelves, and so they're more hesitant to purchase more Monster High product.
So yeah, obviously, you know, we did also have a recent conversation about all the new, you know, Monster High Gen 3 leaks and all the new stuff coming out. You know, go check that out if you'd like to hear our thoughts on the leaks. But a big part of the problem is I don't know when we will actually see or obtain any of that stuff. Honestly, it's been kind of radio silence since then. I'm sure certain things are going to trickle in here and there. I feel like Caddy and some other stuff is probably going to be available really soon. Really recently, I did see that a few people are starting to report finding, I think, some things like the core refresh dolls at Walmart. And again, our luck is atrocious at Walmart. If they pop up at Walmart first, it's going to take us weeks to months to actually get our hands on it. And, you know, when they appear on Amazon, they immediately sell out if it's new. And personally, I'm kind of at a point anyway where I don't really like buying Playline dolls on Amazon anymore. There's just, for me personally, there's usually way too many issues. I like to pick my dolls out in store, but it's really hard to come across new Monster High Gen 3 dolls in store. Kind of a final note on this. It was speculated and posted by a lot of like news and gossip pages online that the next season, I think season 3 of the Monster High Gen 3 animated series, it has not yet been picked up for another season. Specifically, there hasn't been a renewal announcement. You know, it's worth noting season 2 was announced with a pretty good amount of fanfare in November 2022. There were articles about it. We haven't heard anything about a confirmation of the next season. That doesn't necessarily mean anything. There may just be a delay. Obviously, Nickelodeon is working through some issues and some controversies right now, so it's possible they're gonna be laying low for a while. I don't know if, you know, Monster High might be kind of impacted by that, or if there was a delay in scheduling. We'll have to see. But yeah, let us know how you all are feeling about Monster High Gen 3 right now. So we're going to jump back to MGA and we're going to talk about LOL Surprise. We're going to be focusing a little more on OMG's kind of the fashion doll world for LOL Surprise. I think this brand has found itself in a tough position. I don't know how LOL Surprise kind of almost feels like it went from MGA's Golden Goose to like almost weirdly like a middle child syndrome situation. Like its relationship with Rainbow High, which we've already talked about, and now Bratz are back, and it seems like, you know, there's like kind of juggling that focus between those three big like name brands. I feel like MGA is in a period of kind of testing the waters to see like, okay, which of these three should we kind of really stick with and really push? Basically, what we've noticed, I vividly remember a time where LOL Surprise was just rush releasing like OMGs every other month. There was like new OMGs and new stuff on the shelf and tons of stuff coming out. So at this time, there has not been a new core line of OMGs since what was considered basically series 8 of kind of like, you know, like not like a titled line, just like core line OMGs. Not since last year, 2023, and that was the line that included Jams, Pose, Victory, and Wildflower. Those were very cute. You know, they were cute. I don't know for sure how popular they were. I think they were relatively popular. But we haven't gotten a big themed line with new characters since almost exactly a full year ago. Like April 2023 was when we posted our review of Sunshine Makeover, and Sunshine Makeover was the last kind of like major themed gimmick line. Obviously, there have been other OMG and tween products released since then. Some of the main releases that the brand seems to be focusing on right now are the Sweet Nails collection, which is repeat characters, which it's worth noting that's a rarity for LOL Surprise OMG. Characters we've seen before don't really tend to make repeat appearances unless they're budget dolls. There is one exception. Pinky Pops is a new character. MGA is really into pink characters named Pinky nowadays. But the sweet nails are more, honestly, these dolls are dressed in what I would consider budget-leaning clothing. They're in very simple outfits, and the focus is more on just like a little activity play set. So it's based on like really young kids. They're not wearing anything super, high fashion or real world inspiration or anything like that. It kind of got me thinking too, we haven't had, remembering just when OMG was kind of at its peak, and it was kind of like the Rainbow High thing, where it's like there were multiple outfits and like swappable fashion pieces and a huge themed line and like a push.
It also seemed like across the board for LOLs, they had a cohesive theme.
Yeah. Running
across like the tots, OMGs, and the tweens.
Yeah.
So it feels like it's more scattered, because like right now I think like with like the tots right now they're doing the crayon ones. I would assume they would have done an OMG like crayon themed doll, but
that would have been really cute.
But they're not doing anything like that.
Yeah, again, the huge multi-outfit themed lines, which were like what I would consider remix, movie magic, fashion show, a lot of those lines came paired with movies, like films as well. We haven't gotten something like that, I believe, in closer to 2 years, because fashion show was 2 years ago in like late 2022. So it's just, this brand is in a little bit of an interesting position as well. Honestly, it seems like it's following a somewhat similar path to Rainbow High, where things are a little more oriented to young kids with the recent releases and the play sets. Of course, LOL Surprise has always had appeal to young kids, the tots in particular. Of course, the target demo is young kids. OMGs from the start definitely felt like they were targeted at older collectors with, more crossover appeal. We also, of course, have to mention in this conversation the cancellation/discontinuation of OMG Fierce, which had a lot of collectors bummed, particularly adult collectors. OMG Fierce was confirmed as canceled quite some time ago by artist Darko Dark on Instagram. And it was especially unfortunate because prototypes at that point had already been released for Kitty K and Candylicious, and those dolls never saw release.
No, yeah.
Which is really sad. We reviewed like 1 or 2 Fierce dolls previously, but I was hoping for that to continue. I felt like that was a really nice sweet spot kind of for adult collectors. I feel like parents weren't buying those for kids, like the really tall, and I would say too, anything with OMG that kind of leans suggestive or like more mature than a parent would prefer for a kid. I feel like Fierce went even further with that. So I think because of that, I don't think those ones were really selling with kids or appealing to parents picking up things for their kids. Those dolls were also really large. They were very tall. Sang and I have been expressing a grievance with OMGs for a long time that we really wanted them to improve like their articulation and their bodies, because they have the snap legs. They're a little wobbly overall. They do have really nice, for the most part, like arm and, like wrist articulation and stuff like that, but everything else is more of a toss-up.
Instead, they got rid of wrist articulation with their tweens.
Yeah, that's another huge factor, and it was very controversial with adults. Some more recent LOL Surprise, fashion doll releases, specifically the latest line of tweens, has reduced articulation. They suffered the Rainbow High fate of they can't move their wrists. Which is unfortunate because honestly, the designs of the tweens are pretty much just as cute as they've always been. Yeah. The new line of tweens is really cute. The fashions are adorable and detailed. But it's a bummer to see that multiple doll lines at MGA are having, articulation removed from what was once there. Yeah, like Sang mentioned, the tots are still going strong. I think, honestly, the tots are always going to be the meat and potatoes of LOL Surprise. So they're always going to have that to fall back on. I'm not totally sure what's going on here or where kind of the place of LOL Surprise, specifically the fashion dolls, OMGs, are going to fall. Like between Rainbow High and Bratz and how MGA is going to balance all that out. I feel like they're in a period of figuring that out right now.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because, like, with the success of the Barbie movie, you would think that sales of dolls would have gone up. But I feel like all these companies are scaling back on their doll releases.
It feels like 2024 might just be a general, like, filler year while the next big thing simmers. But yeah, we'll touch on that a little more maybe in the outro of this.
Speaking of Barbie.
Yes. We're going to touch on Barbie as well. As you all probably know, Sang and I are not the biggest Barbie collectors in general. Barbie was a huge part of, of course, my gateway into the world of doll collecting and interest in dolls when I was very young. She hasn't resonated with me as much as an adult collector. Of course, it depends on, the design and type of release. But obviously, Barbie is coming off a juggernaut level success with the Barbie movie last year. The Barbie movie dolls were a gigantic hit. It was incredibly successful. But that was a really interesting situation as well, because a lot of the most popular ones, like Western, Cowgirl Barbie and stuff like that, there was kind of one wave of them on store shelves, and then good luck, have fun ever obtaining them again. There were like follow-up waves of certain other ones that were initially rare for a while, specifically like the $50, the higher priced ones, over time got just really scarce. And the ones they were mainly restocking were the more affordable ones in stores like Perfect Day Barbie and the Kens and stuff like that. And
it really shows you how successful the movie was when the $50 dolls sold out in just retail stores. Yeah. I honestly, that goes to show you, a lot of people gave, obviously I don't want to encourage very expensive, overpriced dolls, but a lot of people gave MGA flack for like putting, $50, $60 dolls on Playline shelves with like the Storm Twins or anything like that. But I would say if you're offering something that's at that value, or it's worth its value, or in the case of the Barbie movie, if it's debatably worth its value, but it's something iconic and popular and something you want, then people are going to buy it. It's going to move off the shelf. So I think basically, because the momentum and, of everything of the Barbie movie has ended at this point, I think we're also in kind of a transitional period with Barbie, where the next big thing in its Playline space is probably kind of simmering right now. Obviously, Barbie is always going to have a position in the market. More affordable and fashionista budget Barbie dolls are always going to have a place and always going to sell. Barbie Extra was kind of previously, one of the most recent Barbie lines that was kind of more talked about among adult collectors. Were those at this point, I don't know for sure if it's been completely confirmed. It may as well have been. There's been like nothing new from Barbie Extra in quite some time. It's rumored that those are completely discontinued. I know the original designer, Judy Choi, announced that she was bowing out of the project in like mid to late 2022. So quite some time ago. I sporadically see some of the extra minis and mini-minis at Macy's and stuff like that. I don't know if any of those came out more recently, but the main Barbie Extra dolls, and I know there was the Barbie Extra Fly at one point. It seems like that's kind of over. Barbie Extra was clearly designed, to compete with LOL Surprise OMG. So it's interesting that around a similar period that we're feeling like OMGs are slowing down a little bit, Barbie Extra has like seen itself out. And so instead, they're stepping over to Dream Teens, which we're not really going to talk about a whole lot in this conversation because, again, it's very low quality, copyright strike worthy images at this time. But we have seen the leaks, and if we were to describe it to you like completely blind, they look like Ever After High heads on Barbie bodies.
Yeah, they kind of do, yeah. And also, it's a group of 4 racially diverse girls. There's an Asian coded and like a black character and a potentially like Latina coded character.
And your standard.
And Chloe, aka Barbie. So this definitely seems intended to compete with Bratz. Now that Bratz is having a comeback, you know, Mattel and MGA are have an ongoing duel, obviously.
And they also, like, their aesthetic is also very early 2000. They don't look modern either. Yeah.
So it's gonna be really interesting seeing how that goes. Allegedly, the Dream Teens are supposed to come out by summer or so. The thing also, like, even like Sang and I had talked about this recently. Like, I don't know what's going on with the alleged Myscine comeback.
Yeah.
I feel like if Mattel really wanted to compete with Bratz, they would have been better off bringing back their original Bratz competitor that had a lot of success. Sang and I are not Myscine people, so we know nothing about details of that or anything, but it's just we had heard there was going to be a Myscine comeback, and then we've heard nothing on that for a long time, so don't know what's going on there. So, I mean, obviously those are kind of a lot of the major, you know, juggernaut brands from, you know, the 2 biggest companies, Mattel and MGA, in the world of dolls. Honestly, the last time I feel like we kind of saw kind of a surprise contender come out the gate and potentially stir things up in, you know, the doll collector space, particularly with like adult collector crossover appeal. It was Disney Illy Forever, especially when those first came out. There was quite a bit of fanfare over them.
Yeah.
Like all the whole adult collector community was really into them. We reviewed the first wave, and that video was really, you know, did really well.
And we really enjoyed them too.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, they had,
and they seemed like they were very geared towards us, and they had fashion packs, and they had like little blind box, little balloon items in there that was kind of fun. And inset eyes.
Yeah, they were very articulated. Yeah, they had pretty like detailed fashions. They were checking all the boxes.
Yeah.
Now, Illy Forever is still releasing stuff.
Yes, and it seems like Jakks Pacific took over distribution and making some of these dolls. So Jakks Pacific has their own version of Disney Illy Forever, and then the Disney store still makes their own Illy Forever dolls. So if you see Illy Forever dolls at like your local Target or Walmart, it's probably a Target that doesn't have a Disney store section. Yes.
Yeah.
You'll see the Jakks Pacific versions, which is, you know, it's nice. It's kind of like it's more available for collectors. Mm-hmm. But personally, I really like this Disney Store version more. I like them more. And those are only available through like the Disney Store website and through select like Disney Store locations through like Target and stuff.
Yeah.
Or like Disney parks.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting. There's like those, again, the new versions. The Jakks Pacific versions do not have inset eyes. Some of them are really cute. Some of them, it does feel like there were certain budget cuts. A few of them do feel a little simpler than the initial wave. Some of them, the theme is all over the place. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like some of the fanfare from Disney Illy Forever, it didn't really maintain that momentum. But, you know, I also noticed too, they're reusing some of the characters. In the wave 2, I was expecting them to kind of just release like new characters and stuff.
Well, I think the Jakks Pacific ones are like the newer characters, and then with the Disney Store versions, they're reusing the characters they already have.
Which that's a bit of a bummer, because then the new characters don't have the inset eyes, and
it
makes them look a little cheaper.
I
feel like that's kind of the bummer.
I think the trade-off is it's like the Jakks Pacific ones are more available, but they are, you know, arguably simpler and, you know.
Yeah. I do have to say, some of those are still on my radar. They are still cute. You know, and I know we've gotten 1 or 2 comments of people like requesting that we review some of those. Maybe we will eventually.
But you know, Illy Forever was one of the dolls lines that people are really excited about, and you know, hopefully they figure something out to make it, you know, bring them back better. But you know, Max and I are we're gonna be doing a review of another doll company that's coming out with a new product that hopefully creates some buzz too, but we'll see how that goes.
Yes. So, in conclusion, you know...
Your wallet is safe this year.
Yeah, I mean, as, you know, Sang and I have very much entered our Pop Mart and K-pop era right now. I have to be really honest. That's the stuff that he and I are collecting most right now. You know, something we kind of have to address is, of course, there's general factors that may be playing into this. Obviously, we're in a bit of a challenging market right now. Inflation is really high. As we've kind of discussed previously, there may not be a whole lot of a market for dolls that cost over $20 right now. So that may be why we're seeing a lot of kind of simplifying and rebooting and budget cutting across the board. It's entirely possible that all of this is just going to be a temporary waiting period, kind of while the next big thing, you know, in the doll world simmers, or, you know, while the market hopefully sorts itself out or inflation gets less bad, knock on wood. So kind of what this means also for our channel in present time. Of course, you guys can always rely on us to be, you know, to continue covering our longtime favorites like Integrity Toys, you know, Monster High, in addition to, like Sang mentioned, you know, periodically some new brands. As y'all have probably noticed, we've been experimenting a bit recently kind of with different things and different brands and different products. We and I have said this before on our channel. We said it from day one of our channel that, you know, this is toy chat. So we are periodically going to cover things that are not dolls. Sang and I are interested in a lot of things, and we collect a lot of things that are not dolls. But of course, it very much seems like, obviously, the sweet spot of our channel and what our following is most interested in is like in relation to dolls and kind of a select group of doll brands. Definitely do need to thank our Integrity Toys followers, because y'all have really turned up and turned out. Like, every time we post a video, even when, you know, we don't post an IT video for a really long time. So we are very grateful for you all. Monster High coverage has gotten really interesting on our channel, because, like, there's times where we'll cover something Monster High related and it performs really well. And then there's other times where we post a Monster High video and we work really hard on it, and then it just doesn't really get much traction or much viewership. And obviously, of course, view counts are not everything. And I mean, we're a smaller channel in general. The algorithm is not always kind to us, but we do want to make sure that we're publishing content that is of interest to as much of our following as possible. But we definitely also, I would prefer to post content on things that we're interested in, that we have some amount of interest in too, because
it reflects on our work too. If we're actually like really interested in, we'll never post anything that we don't like. But
I mean, obviously we've given negative reviews before, but truthfully, if it's something that's like, I have zero interest in this is what's like not whatsoever on my radar, I don't like it, or I don't support the company or whatever, we're not going to review it. Pretty much, most generally. Obviously, of course, that's not to say that we review everything we like. We don't have the time or the bandwidth for that. But, you know, it makes for much better content when we're reviewing things that we have some level of interest in, that we want to talk about. So even though there's some of this other stuff that's out, like some of these budget dolls and this reboot stuff and stuff like that, it's sometimes challenging for us to purchase it on our own dime solely for the purpose of a review if it's personally just like not up our alley. You know, so definitely we kind of want to have a conversation with you all about, you know, what's on your radar right now? What are you interested in? What do you want to see from our channel? What type of content could we publish that would have you, you know, enjoying, you know, the content, that would have you tuning in, you know, week to week?
Yeah, and you know, we still have stuff, you know, we are going to review and discuss. You know, we every year we go to the Toy Insider event, so there going to be a lot of content there. We have something lined up But, you know, we are kind of in, you know, no dry spell for Playline dolls. And, I mean, IT just announced something really big. Has a whole nother discussion. And, yeah, I mean, there's stuff. It's just, it is a little bit of a challenging time just for just seeing, like, people are kind of divided on what to collect and what people want to see.
Yeah, and that's kind of, it feels like the collector space is in that zone right now. Like, everyone's kind of going in different directions and kind of like, you know, doing different things. I mean, the funny thing is, obviously, of course, we've experienced similar stuff to this before. Whenever After High initially died, when Monster High initially died, we have weathered storms many a time before. So this isn't anything new. And of course, you know, there could be something crazy popping out like tomorrow. Yeah. You know, so you never know. But yeah, we'd love to talk with you all. Feel free to, you know, pop off in the comment section. You know, let us know what your thoughts are on just the state of everything right now and kind of being a doll collector. You know, what doll brands are still on your radar? What are you hoping to see more of? Do you want just, more discussions from us, kind of like podcast coverage? Because these podcast conversations are fun to do. They're also usually less labor intensive for me to edit and put together, so I do appreciate that. But yeah, if there's, you know, just let us know what you want to see more of from us, and, you know, we will see where things go and what we as collectors hopefully have to look forward to in the future. So definitely let us know your thoughts on this whole conversation. Make sure to give us a follow and a thumbs up if you haven't already. Let us know what you'd like to hear us discuss in our next podcast episode, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.